Now, the rest of the story.
All right, welcome back. I've been asked to do a update, catch-up video on the silo. Well, there isn't a whole lot to actually catch up or update on. All it left was a decent sized pile of rubble. This is all we have left. We got to go through in the process of tearing the silo down. We got some of our fences got kind of messed up. Feed bunk is pretty well worthless now, but it was shot even when the silo was still standing. We had no intentions of using this silo again anyway. That's why it's gone. It left a nice little vacant spot here right now. And the goal is, the reason we haven't done it is because it's been raining, it's been wet. It's starting to rain right now. Ever since they tore it down, we haven't had a chance to really do much with it. But the plan is more than likely use the JCB, the grapple bucket, once all this dries out, and go through and pick up these chunks of concrete, sift through some of the, which will help sift through some of the lime that's here. I mean, the old hay residue, that little bit that we have, really isn't going to matter much. That'll deteriorate, especially now that it's exposed to the rain and the sun. But the goal is to go through and get all the last of this crete, the staves, and just take them down and dump them in the ditch where it's washing to a certain degree. And then really once we get this cleaned up, we're trying to get this lime picked back up and piled back up. But when this gets wet, it's essentially just a bigger version of sand or wet sand, and it's just a real hassle to do much of anything with it. I mean, we've done a little bit back here, but we'll end up scooping it up and putting it back against that concrete platform or whatever else. I mean, probably try to smooth some of this out because the concrete pad that was here isn't going to have anything done with it. It's going to be left. So if we go through and even level it out, some lime across it, kind of smooth it out, and we can use it for parking wagons, use it for stacking round bales. Probably a better place to stack bales than over here. In the end, maybe we will anyway, or at least stack a row or two. But last fall, we stacked a bunch of corn fodder down across here. And because of the weather that we're having anymore, we had January storms, rainstorms. We had flooding in January. Well, the problem is when you get a bunch of rain in January like that, what happens? It freezes because all of that rainwater came down from up above, and as it always did, it came down across this lot, and then it washed down underneath all these fodder bales we had in here, which I think was about 70 or so, and we had about 6 inches of water that had frozen and basically made it impossible to move those bales. It actually took 7600 and the bale tines to rip them up off the ground, just so we could get to our bedding. So for what they did and for what was here, to pretty much have this be the last that we have to clean up is quite a feat. We went through with the JCB again and the grapple bucket. We crunched up the roof. We took out, what else did we take out? We had some tin we ended up taking out too. The frame for the unloading auger, or the unloader, is up there in a pile just because it does have some nice arms on it. We could actually potentially maybe reuse that someday. So they're gonna get thrown off to the side. We got to go through, try to do something with some of the fences around here, but once again, it's just one of those things where it'd be nice to do something with our fences, but it's so soft, so wet. Every time you try to get out and do something, you got to worry about getting stuck. Ideally, those bales are going to be gone here. They're going to be the first ones we feed out, but I'm planning on putting something in that outside lot this winter. Either I'm going to bring my cows, my calves up from down at my place and overwinter them up here, calve them up here, or I may also, the calves I plan on buying this fall. Sounds like there's actually a red-hided beef sale that's going to be at Bloomington this year. I might try making it to that, just see if I can't find any deals. But I also talked to my neighbor. I got to talk to him again. I'm actually interested in maybe buying some of his heifers. So if I could buy, at the very least, 2 or 3, it isn't a lot. It's not going to really bump up the cattle numbers really quick. But when I'm already at really 5 heifers, cows right now, if you add another 3 or 4, you're almost doubling your herd in one purchase. I'd like to have at least 10, ideally get up to about 50. I talked to my friend, which if you don't, make sure you get yourself friends that are good for bouncing ideas off of each other. And really that's what we were just talking about. It wasn't 2 nights ago, which is irrelevant, but we were saying that if you want to have cattle, you're looking at really finishing your own cattle and fattening them up, finishing them out, taking them to the slaughter. Your best return, or the best money to be made, is actually if you're producing those calves yourself. So you're a start to finish. So you're calving that cow and you're raising that calf up to a feeder calf, and then you're finishing it out yourself. If I could do even 50 head or so of that, that's maybe where I'd like to be someday. Now you could argue that, oh, we should have kept the silo to do that. Well, we have silos. We have blue one up there, 2 blue ones up there actually, but the bigger blue one that you can still see over the barn is pretty much worthless. The one that I would probably in the end end up using is actually going to be the big one down at my place. That's a 25 by 90 down there, and I don't have any immediate plans to go to chop anything. I mean, I know a lot of you guys are really hoping that we do. It's quite an investment right now, even as far as hiring it done. That silo itself is all right. It might need to be sealed up again at this point, but the feed bunk actually needs to be ripped out and just redone, because the bunk is just shot. It's just the best way to say it. So you guys have heard me talk about it the last couple days. I'm actually getting pretty serious about it. I was asking about Harvest Tech for putting the liquid on our round baler. I don't know if it'll be Harvest Tech or was it Dorn Enterprise. I just looked them up. Somebody recommended them last night, and I'm actually going to look at calling them up here and at least getting some prices and see what their systems are. I'm pretty much stuck on the manual system. If I could do just a 50 or 55 gallon tank and manually engage it and disengage it, it's more work from the cab for the operator. I get that. Unless their automatic system is worth the money, because you're talking over twice the money going from an manual to an automatic in the Harvest Tech. The Harvest Tech's automatic system with the 55 gallon tank, I mean, the only difference is that it's automatic or manual. It's another, well, it's $5,500 compared to $2,500 for a manual setup. At that price, for the amount of hay we're currently doing, especially if you're looking at doing it just for when it seems like it's too wet, or you know that it's going to be stored inside immediately, I would rather go that route. Just do a manual. Especially for me, I am definitely somebody that would be a worrier when it comes to worrying about quality, especially if I'm putting it away and not planning on, if you make it in June or July and you're not planning on pulling it back out of the shed for another 9 months or 6 months, give or take, I'd almost rather apply it to the whole bale from start to finish. Make sure that it has that product on. As long as that product works as advertised, which it sounds like it does for the most part. It does still heat or get warm to a certain degree, but I think it was 102 to 105. They can still warm up. The quality doesn't diminish. So I'm really leaning towards that. If we can just make quality round bales in the Wisconsin weather that we have and just go that route. There's some people that are adamantly against it. I actually got a couple of those already that, you know, it's going to cause cancer, but honestly, I'm not going to get into that argument because it's quickly getting to the point where it seems like breathing air in general is going to cause cancer. So that is my update on the pile of rubble. Oof. So it's just something that was more or less just going to be an eyesore for the rest of our lives. I know some of you guys don't want to hear it, but in my lifetime, that dairy barn will end up going away. It's serving a purpose at the moment. I mean, it's where we're pulling grain out of that small silo. It's a roof over it. We could use the barn for hay storage. I mean, I've talked about that, just maybe cutting a hole in the back side over by where the silo is, put a rolling door on it, and then just stack hay on the inside. I mean, I'm to the point, I don't even know if we're going to keep raising bottle calves. The profit margin and the inputs, yeah, calves might be cheap. I heard they're what, 30 to 50 bucks right now. But on the other end, coming back out, they're cheap. Feeder calf prices are not there. So to justify feeding the grain or making the feed and dumping the grain to the calves, I just don't see it as far as doing it. I mean, I agree, for kids, I mean, raising a few calves and teaching them responsibility, yeah. The day comes that if and when I ever do have kids running around here, doesn't matter if they're boys or girls, they're going to get treated the same, and they will be learning responsibility and not be sitting in the house playing on iPads, or whatever else. So, all right. Hope you guys are enjoying your week. I'm having a blast, if you guys can't tell. But I need to move on to the next thing. So until next time, tomorrow, take care, take it easy, keep in touch. We'll talk to you then.